8,000 parolees are set to be released from supervision by tomorrow under New York's controversial Less is More Act.
Less is more what? Less is more crime? Less is more problems? Less is what?
8,000 people getting off parole by the end of this week is exactly where we need to be going.
Good evening, I'm Don Alhart. Now, while some are criticizing New York's parole reform as dangerous and misguided, others have praised it as long overdue. And as Chase Howell explains tonight, tomorrow's release presents another test of New York's criminal justice reform.
Yeah, Don, part of the Less is More legislation allows parolees to earn a 30-day reduction in their sentence for every 30 days without a violation. Many of those being released tomorrow are the beneficiaries of that. Governor Hochul's Less is More bill will release 8,000 parolees off supervision by March 31st. Since September, 5,400 parolees have been taken off supervision.
Something like you're on parole and you may be 5 minutes late to a meeting with your parole officer. And prior to Less is More in the state of New York, any accusation of a mere technical would result in jail time.
Livingston County Sheriff Thomas Doherty says less technical violations means more freedom for criminals and less safety for citizens.
What does the New York system currently tell criminals? I'll tell you what it tells criminals. New York is a joke. It tells them, I can keep doing these things. I'm not going to be violated on my parole. If I do get arrested, bail reform will set me free.
Frank Pavosky served 12 years in prison for arson on police vehicles in 2005. He was on parole with supervision for 6 years, and a medical emergency almost landed him back behind bars.
One time I was out walking my dogs and was stung by bees, and it was, about 7 o'clock at night. And, the police were called, an ambulance came. I went into anaphylactic shock. And, my biggest concern was calling my parole officer to let him know where I was.
Sheriff Doherty says Less is More will cause crimes to continue to climb. But Pavosky says once you go to prison, you don't want to go back.
I think the vast majority of people that, serve time for some crime they, committed, paid their penalty. And the only concern, they never want to go back. Prison is the worst place to ever be, and they never want to go back. And they learn from it.
Now, we did reach out to the Department of Corrections to find out how many parolees will be released from supervision in Monroe County, and we're waiting to hear back.
Talking now about the new home for the Buffalo Bills. Not everyone in Albany agrees with the $600 million in state funding proposed for that new Bills stadium. The head of the Senate Finance Committee has raised some concerns. So today, 13 West Dalton Williams spoke with members of our local delegation to see just how they will vote.
It's part of being a fan and part of living in the society.
AJ Das says his tax money doesn't always fund the things he agrees with and understands why a lot of people may feel that way about the Bills stadium. Others believe the taxpayer money will be a good investment.
Well, I think it's okay because it's going to come back to us. Once it's built, it's going to generate money, man. It's going to generate jobs. All the way around, it's going to benefit.
That's one of the reasons Senator Jeremy Cooney says he will vote in favor of the $600 million from the state for the Bills stadium. But Cooney says he understands why some don't agree with how the money will be spent.
Well, I think when it comes to public subsidies of professional sports teams, especially when you have two very wealthy owners, it becomes hard for taxpayers to see dollars being spent on that particular franchise, if you will. And there are very competitive offers being made by other states that see the value of having a professional sports franchise come to their state. And so while I wish that we could wave a magic wand and have the owners just pay out of their own pockets to build this stadium, it's not going to happen. We've got to close the deal. We've got to keep the Bills in Western New York.
In the Assembly, local Democrat Harry Bronson says he supports the stadium, but would like to see more details about the negotiated deal made by the governor.
I'm generally supportive because, again, as chair of economic development, we need to invest in our economy. One way to do that is in entertainment venues that our families want to attend. And, when folks go to the Bills game, they spend money so they can tailgate. They spend money at the games with those vendors. So it's a way to invest in the Bills and then it gives a venue and a context in which our families and visitors then contribute into the economy. So that's number one.
Republican Assemblyman Josh Jensen was unavailable for an interview today, but he says the state has not played a major role in the past in financing the construction of these types of projects. He says it's interesting that the state is financing the bulk of this project when that money could be put elsewhere.
Also tonight, a second round of COVID booster shots now available to people 50 and older. President Biden today among the first, but others may be harder to convince. All of this as the BA.2 subvariant now becomes the dominant strain here in the U.S. Good evening. I'm Jenny Ryan. Doug is off. That new Omicron subvariant is highly contagious and causing an uptick in cases here and across the country. The highest concentrations are reported in New York, New Jersey, and New England. President Biden says the pandemic is not over, but no longer controls our lives. He's also warning Congress that unless it approves more funding, there could be no money for vaccines by the fall. 347 new COVID cases reported in Monroe County today. And despite the spike, there are questions and some reluctance about this second booster. As 13 WHAM's Carla Rogner found out, even some doctors are offering different advice. Carla?
Yeah, we polled our Twitter followers. Of the close to 600 users that responded, 33% said they will get a fourth COVID shot, but 67% said no. Doctors say those eligible for another vaccine should look at their own health, age, and whether they've recently had COVID as they make their decision.
It's good. It's a good thing.
For Tom Passamonte, another shot is a way to get ahead of a potential COVID surge.
Willing to do anything that'll prevent anything. I just don't. I'm at an age where I don't know what to expect, so I'll get it.
The FDA says adults 50 and older can choose to get another shot if it's been at least 4 months since their last dose.
I personally probably will not get the fourth booster.
Douglas Preston has gotten the first 3 COVID vaccines, but he's not interested in another.
It's been going on for 2 years. I believe it's tailing off. I'm just going to take my chances. A year ago, I didn't feel that way.
He's one of many Americans feeling COVID fatigue.
I am over 60, but relatively good health, and I'm just going to take my chances.
Even among doctors, there is some debate over whether a fourth COVID shot is necessary, and it may not be useful to some right away.
If you're fully vaccinated and you happen to get a recent breakthrough infection, in the last month or so, maybe 6 weeks, then that was likely Omicron. So you have a very good degree of protection with your vaccine combined with having a recent infection. So for that type of person, there might not be any rush to go out and get this booster.
But Dr. Lesho explains others can benefit from another dose.
A person who, say, never had evidence of an infection and who has a weakened immune system or is elderly.
For some like Barbara Long, it's another way to keep the pandemic at bay.
If we need it, we need to get it. We need to fight this thing and make it go away.
There is no word on whether the FDA or CDC could expand its authorization of another shot for people under 50.